I'm going to share with you the things that I wish I knew before I walked the Camino de Santiago so that you can avoid making my mistakes and make the most out of your way. Hi everyone, I am Melanie from Travel Light and I recently walked the Camino de Santiago, specifically the Camino Frances. I'll admit, I am a huge travel researcher, but leading up to the Camino, I was swamped. I was literally so busy that I barely had any time to research or prepare. I just knew I wanted to do it and knew I had to book the flight. I made so many mistakes along the way, and I really wish this video would have been available so I could watch it before I left. If you love travel tips and hiking inspiration, make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of the awesome videos that we create. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. These are the 14, yes, 14, I made a list, things that I wish I would have known before I started walking my Camino. Number one, the first and maybe the biggest thing that I wish I knew before I started my Camino Frances is that it is a social experience. If you are looking for a walk in nature with a ton of solitude, the Camino Frances may not be the best hike for you. There are other variants of the Camino that are a little more remote with less people. The Camino Frances is admittedly a little bit crowded, especially after you get to Sarria. From Sarria to Santiago de Compostela, that is the most crowded section of the Camino Frances. So if you are looking for this like raw nature experience, just make sure that you do your research. I loved the Camino Frances. I loved the social experience of it all. And I also was able to set boundaries for myself so that I could have the solitude that I needed, especially by getting up early and beating pretty much all of my friends that I had made and everybody else out on the walk. If you can be an early riser, then you can have a lot more solitude than the rest of the people will. Now, I went on the Camino alone. I expected to spend a lot more time alone, and I was really surprised to find out that I immediately had a group of friends. And not only did I have people that were my friends pretty quickly, but I wanted to spend a lot of time with them, and I had limited time with them. These are people who live in all different parts of the world. So I wish I would have known and a little bit mentally prepared more for being around people so often during the Camino Frances. Number two, there are so many road sections like where you are walking on pavement on the Camino Frances. I did not expect this. I do a lot of walks and hikes around the world, and in general, I'm on dirt trails and a little bit more out in nature. The Camino goes all the way across northern Spain, so of course you're going to be crossing roads. I just didn't expect that there would be so many really long road sections, and I didn't quite train for that. You know, I train a lot on trails, but I would suggest that you train on hard pavement as well, because the hard pavement can be really tough on your feet. I had more foot pain than I've experienced on any other hike that I've done, and I really attribute that to the amount of hard pavement that you're walking on the Camino Frances. Number three, as I've mentioned, I am an experienced trekker. I've done many treks around the world, and I was really surprised by how exhausted I was on the Camino Frances. You know, I had imagined people of all walks of life, of all ages and experience levels come out here and do the Camino. I've done all these hikes around the world, including to places like Nepal and Patagonia. I can handle it, right? I was shocked by how exhausted I was, especially the first week. I feel like after every day when I finished, when I got to that albergue at night, I could barely move. I was in so much pain. And I think that is because the Camino sections are very long. A lot of people will hike upwards of 15 miles per day, several days in a row, and it really just adds up and is pretty exhausting for your body. So I wish that I would have anticipated a little bit more that exhaustion and that physical challenge that I was feeling, because every day I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, but I'm here to tell you it gets better and better and your body gets stronger and you adapt. However, you need to train. You need to train for the Camino. I couldn't believe the amount of people that I met, the most during week one, who had to drop out completely. They had planned on doing the entire Camino Frances, all 500 plus miles, and they had to quit during the first week because they had severe knee pain, ankle pain, plantar fasciitis. Somebody got hit by a car. It was like these injuries were popping up left and right. It was it was unbelievable. And these were people of all abilities and experience levels. Most of them had never hiked 15-mile days in a row for several days in a row before. So when you're training, make sure you get that mileage up so that you know what it's like, especially with your backpack, to walk that many miles in a day. Looking back on it, I remember more of those joyous moments than I do of that pain. The pain is still a memory, and it was a big learning experience for me, hiking that many miles in several days in a row. So it's worth it. It's painful. It's incredible. It's worth it. Okay, number 4. I feel silly for not knowing this, but there are just these incredible companies where you can send your bag to your next location. And it's generally, I think it comes out to about €6 or $6 per day to send your bag, which if you have a heavy bag or if you have bad knees or whatever it is, if completing the Camino de Santiago is one of your goals, but you don't think you can handle that backpack, you can have this luggage service, and there's posters all over all the albergues talking about how to do this luggage service, and you can have them take your stuff, which there is no shame in that. You do not have to carry your own backpack to make it a real Camino. There is no shame in sending your bag forward, whatever it takes for you to enjoy the experience and get where you want to go. One tip that I will give you is that if you get like a big backpack, my friends and I actually ended up using a rice sack that was provided by the luggage transport company. You can get like maybe 3 or 4 people together. Everybody put their heaviest stuff in there and send it on to the next albergue. Now the catch for this is that you do need to know where you're staying that night. So if you're one of those people who doesn't know where they're staying, well, then you can't send your bag anywhere. So you do have to know where you're going, and it's just a really excellent service that's provided along the Camino that I wish I would have known about beforehand. Number 5, it gets crowded after Sarria. If you're starting the Camino Frances from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port and you're going all the way to Santiago de Compostela, once you get to Sarria, the crowds are real. There's a lot of people out there. So enjoy the first part, soak it up. That part from Sarria to Santiago is awesome as well, but just know that there's gonna be some crowds and enjoy the solitude, not exactly solitude, there's a lot of people on the entire Camino, but enjoy the less crowded parts while you have them. Number 6, sleeping is so important for the recovery of your body. For the first few nights in the Camino, I was not sleeping that great, honestly, because I wasn't using the right earplugs, and I had lost my eye mask after a couple days, which I was really bummed about because I love my eye mask, but it's really important to get good sleep. So I wish I would have put a little more consideration into that. In the description of this video, I'm gonna link my favorite earplugs and eye mask because they are a game changer and you can sleep anywhere with those 2 items. So check the link in the description and make sure that you get great sleep while you're on the Camino. It's really, really important for your body and for you in the long run to be able to do the entire Camino. It's really important for you to sleep well. Number 7, you are going to be in wine country. You are going to be around some of the best wine that you've ever tasted, and it's local and it's just delicious and it's so cheap. So I wish I would have known how much I would be drinking along the Camino so that I could maybe set some more boundaries if that's what I wanted to do. I found myself enjoying a lot of wine. There's something called Tinto Verano. It's like a wine cocktail that they make, and it was just so refreshing at the end of the day to have one of those. So I just encourage you to be prepared that there is this social culture along the Camino and that wine is a big part of it so that you can set boundaries if you need to. Number 8, the siesta culture is real. Pretty much everything will be closed from 2 to 5. So make sure that you know this before you go and that you prepare accordingly. Let's say you need to go to the pharmacy. It's going to be closed from 2 to 5. Most businesses, especially small businesses, which let's face it, along the Camino Frances, it's all small businesses. They're going to be closed so that the owners of those businesses can rest and have their lunch. So plan accordingly. Number 9, blister band-aids are much cheaper coming from the United States than they are once you get to Spain. Compeed is a really popular blister band-aid. I'm gonna link that in the description below. Just so you can stock up, I would recommend buying at least 2 packs of Compeed. And if you don't use it, I'm sure there will be other pilgrims that you can share it with. But the price was at least double in Spain. So stock up on the items that are really important to you before leaving home. Number 10, you can take public transportation. Here's public transportation, and as mentioned, there are lots of roads along the Camino Frances. And there is no shame, just like sending your backpack forward, there is no shame in taking public transportation if you're dealing with physical issues. Or even if just one day you're like, you know what, I'm gonna just take a bus. The Camino is your journey. You'll hear this many times along the way. I met people who skipped the entire meseta. I met people who just kind of skipped around, and there's people who do 1 week per year and then they get it done in 5 or 6 years or however long it ends up taking them. So there's a lot of public transportation available along the Camino. Number 11, there is so much history, of course, along the Camino de Santiago, but unless you have a good guidebook or some kind of online resource that you enjoy, you're not really going to have a taste of that history or know all of the interesting information that there is to know about the towns that you're walking through. I did not have a guidebook with me when I did the Camino de Santiago, and I wish that I would have, or I wish that I would have found some kind of resource, even if it's just a little paragraph every day about the section that I did, just so I can dig into the culture and just the history of the area a little bit more. One of my friends had a guidebook, and not all guidebooks are created equal, so make sure that you find a good one. The one that she had, we would read it and then we were like, that is the most boring piece of information I have ever heard. So make sure you get a guidebook that you find really interesting. I'm sure that Pilgrims have created guidebooks. I don't have a link to any of those, but have some kind of resource that teaches you about the area. Number 12, when you first start your Camino, it seems like it's just going to stretch on and on and on forever. It's like, oh wow, it's only day 3. I can't believe I'm gonna be out here for 30, 40 days, however long it's going to take you. And then there comes a point where it's just like, whoa, what happened to the time? Oh my gosh, I only have 4 days left. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be in Santiago in 2 days. Time starts out really slowly. It's kind of like a lifespan in that way, walking the Camino. So it starts off really slowly, and then at some point it starts really speeding up, and before you know it, it's over. So savor the moments, be in the present, don't rush it. Number 13, there are some really fantastic albergues along the Camino. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of time to research before I left. So when I arrived to the Camino, I met some people who had done it before, and they had some albergues saved in their phone, and they're like, oh, these are the ones that like you should try to go to because they're so awesome. I felt a little like, oh man, now I need to make sure that I get to these places. I don't even know where they are. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there, etc. So it would have been nice for me, for my planner spirit, to know this list of albergues that were like the top of the top, so that I could plan my days accordingly and make sure that I got to all of these places and that I didn't feel stressed about it. So I am going to put a list of these albergues in the description. Check out the description of this video. I am going to list 5 or 6 of my absolute favorites from the entire Camino Frances so that you can plan ahead. And finally, number 14 is that the beaches, if you go to Santiago de Compostela and then you continue an extra 5 days, you can do the Camino Finisterre. And I decided to do that. I thought I would want to do it, and I did. What I didn't realize is that the beaches are gorgeous. Like if you Google Finisterre, you'll see the lighthouse, you'll see a couple beaches, but nothing prepared me for the beautiful color of the water. That area is gorgeous, especially after walking all across like the mainland of Spain. And then you get to the coast and you get to swim in the ocean, and there's no better feeling than walking all the way from France and then jumping into the ocean. It was absolutely incredible. And what I wish I would have known there is that Finisterre is just this incredible town with the nicest people, and there's so much to do there. So I wish I would have kept a couple extra days in my itinerary just to hang out around Finisterre, to get to know some people, to visit the beaches, to watch the sunset, and do all of the awesome things that there are to do there. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have walked the Camino before, please leave some comments below and leave some tips for our future pilgrims so that this video can be an awesome resource about things that we all wish we knew before we walked our way. If you love travel tips and hiking inspiration, make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of the awesome videos that we create. Thank you so much again for watching. Until next time, buen camino.